Hello and welcome to the Tell Not Show. As always, we are your hosts. We have the lovely and fabulous Tricia Fox, author of the Deception and Justice series. She's a homeschooling mom of four, avid reader, and gamer.
And my co-host is Julia J.K. Allen, editor, author, and author coach. She's a fantasy and horror author who loves to put magic in everything. Thank you so much for joining us. Our guest tonight is Tricia Copeland. Tricia Copeland believes in finding magic. She thinks magic infuses every aspect of our lives, whether it is the magic of falling in love, discovering a new passion, a beautiful sunset, or a book that transports us to another world.
Welcome to the show.
Hi, Julia. Hi, Tricia. Thank you for having me.
Yes, we're very excited. So tell us a little bit about your author journey. What got you started in writing and how has it looked for you so far?
Right. So I started writing kind of just as a hobby. I had three young kids at the time and I was on not homeschool, but I'm a stay-at-home mom, I guess. And I was just bored at night and I didn't want to just watch Netflix. So I started writing my story, really a fictionalized account of my story. When I was a young adult, I had anorexia and kind of a trauma, recovering from that. Well, in that and recovering from that. And I wrote about that experience and it became this like 160,000 word manuscript. And my sister-in-law was finally like, you need to do something with this.
Right. Yeah, no, I think writing is so wonderful because it allows us to, like, it's so therapeutic, right? That we can go through and like kind of heal ourselves by telling a story of like what we've been through as well.
I feel like it can be, yeah.
Yeah, no, that's wonderful.
Okay, what genres do you write?
I genre hop a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So my first series, the Being Me series, that was the story of my recovery from anorexia. It's a new adult. It's set in college, so it's a new adult, um, a women's fiction, I'll call it. And then
Hmm.
I quickly hopped into fantasy because that's the genre I love to read in. But when that gets too intense for me, then I jump over to romance, where the worst thing that can happen is somebody, dumps you. and
Right.
and I've also written dystopian too.
Yeah. What makes you choose the genres you've explored? You said fantasy you like to read as well, but some of the other genres.
Right. And some of them have I just continued writing romance because I like romance, to read romance too. It feels light, it feels
Yeah.
fun. In my dystopian book, I just kind of stumbled into that because I was writing in an anthology. I wrote a short story and then decided to make it a series.
Oh, very fun. I love when stories kind of grow and become bigger than than their initial start. Um, well, can you tell us a little bit about your writing process? How do you get from idea to then finished manuscript?
Right. It seems like, but a lot of the Kingdom Journals started with a character, an idea for a character, and she's a vampire witch hybrid. And I always thought it was going to be this. I love vampires. I thought it was going to be this epic vampire series, and somehow that took a turn. I created a curse put on the witches, and then it became a witch series. So that one, it was very character based because I had the idea for this girl who has one foot in the witch world, has one foot in the vampire world, has one foot in the human world, and really doesn't know what to do with
Hmm.
herself until she finds this out about this curse and being one of the witches that can help break the curse. So, and then it's interesting, like the crossover series to that series, the Realm Chronicles series, which kind of continues the saga, came from an idea from an image of a fairy that I saw. I was tasked to write an anthology about a fantasy character with a mental challenge or mental psychiatric challenge. And I saw an image of a fairy and she looked scared and anxious. And I just thought, why is she scared and anxious? What's going on with her? So I
Yeah.
wrote a short story and then that became that Realm Chronicles crossover series.
Very nice. Yes, like I said, love when the stories grow beyond their humble start. Yeah.
So it sounds like you begin usually with characters and then like the plot revolves around them.
I have so far, yes. I mean, my dystopian started more with an idea of like a world in jeopardy, but my other books have definitely been more character based in their
Mm-hmm.
origins.
Okay.
Hmm.
For you, what is the most important part of writing?
Oh, this question was so hard when I saw it. Oh, I mean, I guess just having a good characters and a good plot and something you love that you can just create this whole world around them. I mean, you're going to have the world building, you're going to have the plot, you're going to have the characters. I think you have to love it. I haven't been able to write anything I didn't love yet. So,
Right, right.
yeah.
Yeah, no, writing what we love and what we're passionate about is good advice to give too, because like you said, there's world building. There's so much involved in making a story and creating that if you're not passionate about it and you're just writing to market and just trying to fill like that formula, then you have a lot of work to do. Ahead of you, yeah,
Maybe some people could do that. Maybe some people are more regimented and just their
right.
personalities are more geared towards that. That is not, I mean, I do it for fun. Like I do have a day job too. So
Right,
I do this to
yeah.
fill that creative gap. So I don't think I could, like I tried one time to write an outline and then write a story based on my outline and I couldn't do it. Like I was so bored writing. I was like, why am I even doing this?
My sister's very similar. If she's figured out the story before she writes, she's like, "What's the point? I've already figured it out." Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I know where they start and I know where they end, and I usually know some like major plot points in my head, but I fill in all
Right.
the rest.
You like to discover as you go. Yeah.
Do you have a favorite author, and what is something that they do best?
This is a hard one too. If I had to pick one, I'm going to say Cassandra Clare because she's so good at character and world building and making her fantasy contemporary, but also epic. Like to me, her characters feel contemporary, but then they go to this epic magical world that you get to
Mhm.
escape your life for a little bit of time. So she's one of my favorites.
Cassandra Clare is definitely one of my favorites as well. She has like a whole shelf in my library. Just everything. She's one of my auto-buy authors.
Yes, my husband made me give away all my books when we relocated, so I was very sad. But
Oh no.
Oh no.
I'm
Yeah.
creeping them back in. I'm hiding them under
Yes.
my bed. That's what I've taken to doing now.
Right.
Okay.
Books are our book hoard. We're like dragons. Like we have to have our book hoard.
Yeah.
Oh.
Um,
What is something that you've learned from the writing process?
Oh, I've learned so many things. I wasn't a writer, so I think I said in the beginning, I just started this as sort of a hobby, maybe a little bit of psychotherapy.
Mhm.
So I've taken a lot of classes since then. On my schooling was in science and so in research. I learned how to do technical writing, but never took any. So I went back and took a lot of courses on plot, characters, world building, all those types of things. So I've
Mhm.
learned a lot about how to write and how to write a good story. And I feel like I'm constantly learning.
Yeah, yeah. Tell us a little bit more about that learning process of what have you.
Yeah, so I mean, I take classes, and we have a local writers group that has a lot of classes offered online and in person. So I take classes.
Very nice.
The first
Yeah.
ones were like from Save the Cat. What is this 3 act structure about?
Sure.
um,
Yes. Yes.
yeah, and I did
Yeah.
one of my funnest ones I did. It was actually about movies. It was like the hero's journey. Like how do you structure, like how does Disney structure their hero's journey in a movie, and learning to like use that to plot your plot your plot out.
Yeah. No, that sounds
Stage your
amazing
plot.
though. Like
Yeah.
the whole fact that you have these workshops and classes available to you. That sounds like such a fabulous resource for you to have.
It is. Right now I'm taking a screenwriting course and I'm loving that. And I think it's gonna make my book novel writing better too, because screenwriting
Sure.
it has to be so tight. Everything has to be like you
mhm.
can't have anything
Right.
extraneous in there.
No wasted lines.
You don't have tons of backstories, you don't have
Right.
anything. So yeah.
Yeah, I know it's a very pared down approach, but very effective storytelling. So, I'm sorry, did you say if this was like through like a local university or like through a community program or?
It's a nonprofit organization that promotes
Oh,
literacy
okay.
and writing. So it's called Lighthouse Writers Academy and Lighthouse Writers
Oh, that's
Association.
amazing.
And it's here
Yeah,
in Denver, but you could take classes online. So I think people theoretically could take classes from anywhere from them.
that sounds
Um,
amazing. Yeah.
yeah, and like this in the screenwriting class, the person who's teaching it is a screenwriter for like Pixar, and so yeah,
Oh, wow.
so they're really
Yeah.
good
Yes.
classes. Yeah,
Oh, that sounds amazing. Absolutely.
Yeah,
We love that.
that's a wonderful
Yeah.
opportunity. Like,
and they do things for like young adults through all the way up. So if you're
Yeah.
13, you could hop on there. I mean, you can go in person. They might have, Zoom ones too,
Right.
but yeah.
No, I think that's such a valuable resource, like I was saying, because like feedback and workshops are like the heart of what authors, I think all authors should be a part of like a writing group or workshop or something like where, because it's so important to get that feedback on your stories to then improve as a writer, like you're saying about taking these classes. It's like, you get the opportunity to grow in your writing career as well. But I think workshops are so valuable. Like that was my favorite part of going to school to learn creative writing was like you get to actually get feedback on your writing. Yeah.
And up until now, I haven't. This is the first workshop course I've taken. So I
Yeah.
hadn't
Okay.
really had the time or didn't take the bandwidth to do that. But I'm really glad I am now.
Yeah. No. Yeah. No. Workshops can definitely be a commitment because have to do the writing before the workshops and stuff, and then do the workshops and all of that. Yeah.
Well, yeah, and you're taking your time to give feedback to others, but it's a give and take.
Yeah.
So yeah.
It
yes.
is. It is. Yes. So
We like to
important.
encourage people to find their support team. Your beta readers, your ARC readers, your alpha readers, your author friends who can give you good advice and give you feedback. Just there's this whole team that goes into helping your books be the best they can be. You mentioned how you were more of a discovery writer. How do you work it with charting books in like 3 acts or following the hero's journey? Like, how does a discovery writer take that information and still utilize it, but in a way that works for you?
Right. So what I do when I'm starting my novel, I said I have the beginning point. I usually have like what my major incident is going to be, like what makes the character decide to go on this quest or this journey or whatever
Mhm.
their goal is. So I know what that is, and I even like draw it out, like a plot arc in the top. So, and then I usually know what like the climax is going to be and what the resolution is going to be. And then sometimes I'll just write out like little notes of, oh, this could be a high point or this could be a low point.
Mm,
So then as I'm writing, everything I'm writing, I'm making sure that it's leading them to the next plot point or the
The
goal or
next
the end
major
mhm.
goal.
beat.
So
Mhm.
that way I don't get off on a tangent. And if I do get off on a tangent, I can say, wait a minute, is this leading me in the way I need to go? Or is this like extraneous information that I don't need? I mean, sometimes it is, if you're in a series, sometimes you need to put things in there for the next books or for other characters or, and that can be okay, but you don't want to like, I completely go off chart. So
No, yeah.
my editor finally got me to do outlines after. So now every time I finish writing a section for the day or writing a chapter or something, if I'm going to stop for the day, I go back and outline like just bullet points of what I just wrote. So I can have that and
Yeah.
remember it and come back to it. And that way my editor has that as well. And yeah, so actually that's helped me because then I can go back and make sure like I have highs and lows and enough of those, and then keeping my
Yeah.
story moving. Because like the last book I wrote, my editor came back and said, your first 100 pages is boring. And I was like, and I thought,
Oh,
oh
no.
my goodness,
Right.
like this was a lot to rewrite, like on your,
Right.
you only get two passes with my editor. So I was like,
Mhm.
okay, this is boring. Let me see how I can fix this.
Oh, that's devastating though.
Yeah.
Well,
It's
and
so
I guess it
we're
just didn't have a lot of action. Like it had
mhm,
more like,
Right.
just
mhm.
conversation and kind of a little low drama, but and I write YA fantasy. So, I mean, that's what I was writing.
Mhm.
So, you need action, you need,
Mhm.
physical action, not just
Right.
researching in a library, finding out something.
Mm-hmm. No, we absolutely want people who are going to tell us that our story is boring or like how to fix it, because if they don't be honest with us, then we can't get better.
Right.
But at the same time, it takes so much humility and deep breaths and maybe a little bit of crying, and pick yourself
when
up
you get that feedback.
Yes, it's so
it
hard.
was a bit of a low moment. It took me a day to kind of say, okay, I see what you mean. I'll go back. Obviously, I want to fix it.
Yeah. And I always tell people, like, when I give feedback as an editor, I'm like, sit with it for a few days. Like, don't even respond. Like that first day, especially, like, because getting all those like comments and red, you know what I mean? The red all over your document is going to be like, that's my child. Why is she bleeding? But I think that's great advice, because I tell people, if you can't outline before you begin your story, outline before you edit, because even having that snapshot, like you said, of what's happening in each chapter, you can see very quickly, oh, I've got a lot of character A, but not a lot of this character over here. Or you can see where the unbalance is, right? Because good writing to me is all about balance. So we have all the characters balanced, we have everything, the plot's balanced. So sometimes you have a lot of one subplot and you don't have as much of another, and you can see that kind of easily in an outline. So that is great advice. Yeah, yes. I think too.
I picked up when you said to help you remember what happened in each chapter. I have like the memory of a goldfish, and I do the same thing. I have an outline that I write as I'm writing to write down like a tiny synopsis of every chapter. That way, because like I write thick books with twisty plots. So like having that to go off of when did I plant that? Did I, because the book becomes so unwieldy. You're like, where's that part? I know I put it in here somewhere, but if I have that outline to reference, like it's such a really good tool.
Yeah, I talked to another author and she was much more organized than me. I mean, she published a novel a month, but she had like 8 editors on her team and just this huge system. But she wrote every scene down in an Excel file. And I thought, wow, that is just like, that's dedication. I don't think I could do it, but everybody has their different process.
No, I like to compile notes in kind of like a series compendium or book compendium. So you can put your outline in there and your notes, character sheets, things like that in a binder. I find that if I have a notebook, I love carrying around a notebook. It's so easy to write in, but then when you go to look for that information of like what color are their eyes, you have to read the whole notebook to find it. So I found a binder has been really helpful for me, because then I can just go to characters and then look up that info. But yes, Excel sheets. Oh my gosh. I don't even know how to use an Excel sheet after, like, I learned in middle school, but it's been so long. I wouldn't even know how to plot in an Excel sheet, but
yeah. And those character sheets too are really good, especially if you go to like a lot of my books are an audiobook now. And when you go to that audiobook, the audiobook person needs all those notes, like where is this character from? What is their background? What are they going to sound like? So it was really helpful for me to have like character sheets as well as my outlines.
Yeah. No, that is very, very helpful.
That's really good detail.
Yeah, getting to know. Yeah, getting to your characters is kind of the fun part for me too. So I really love doing like the character sheets and the questionnaire and all of that stuff. Yeah.
And if I get blocked, then sometimes I'll just like go on the internet and grab pictures of the character to kind of help me like spur my creativity and put them in a document. So that's fun too.
Yeah, no, mood boards or like, the Pinterest boards for your novels are so great. I love making those as well. It's almost more fun than the plotting, because you're just like, oh, what do they look like? And all that fun aesthetic stuff. But
I know somebody turned me on to, I usually don't use AI, but somebody turned me on to this AI creator, and I part of me is like, I could spend all day here
making my characters come to life. Yes, I know.
Yes. I think for personal use, like it's fun. It's a kind of a toy. It's like when coloring. The authors start using it to market or to do covers, or like or when they start replacing humans, it's tricky, and you can't really do that. But they are fun to play with.
For me, like what I think AI is great for things like, hey, I need a meal plan, I need a meal prep, like, can you help me come up with the recipes? Can you help me come up with the schedule? What do I need to buy? Grocery list, things like that. Like, what's the best way to have like my morning routine be? Like, those things are great uses of AI. I'm like, yes, but the art stuff, I'm like, let's leave it to artists. Yeah. Except for when we're doing it like as an author for our personal use, just to bring our characters to life. I think that's so fun and that's fine. But yeah, like, it's just, I know there's a lot of kind of people that are like, but AI should be improving our lives, not taking away the fun, creative art part of our lives.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's funny because I got turned on to it by a reader that sent it to me and said, oh, my friend told me that this looks like your character. And I was like, oh my gosh, that made me feel so
It
good.
does though. Yeah. That's so
It's like
fun.
getting
I
fan
love
art.
getting it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. If you could give advice to a new author, what would it be?
It would be find really good people to help you. Like she was saying, those beta readers, there's the ARC readers, find really good editors, proofreaders, and cover designers. All those people that are quality people that are going to help guide you in the right direction.
Yes, the community at large is such a big, because not everyone has the support at home of being a writer. Not everyone gets like that. You're locking yourself up for hours every day to like play in your own world. So I think the writing community is like such a valuable asset, because like we talk about it on the show all the time. Like every time I go to publish a book, I'm like, I forget this. I forget how this works. So I hit up Kirsha and I'm like, okay, what do I need to do?
I know my poor cover person. I'm like, is it bleed or no bleed? She's like, right, oh my goodness.
Yeah. But it's like having those people in your corner to ask those questions too makes the process so much easier, because it can be very daunting to go through the whole process on your own.
Yeah. So I give my husband my blurb. He's an engineer. He's like, what do you want me to do with this? I'm like, just tell me if it's good. He's like, no.
Right. No, I know. No, I have a lot of people in my life. They're like, don't ask me for advice. I'm not a writer. But yeah, no, the community is kind of the best part of the whole writing gig. I know everyone says like writing is such a solitary thing, but like when you find your people that like get it and they're just like, yeah, it's my favorite thing, and it also makes me want to rip all my hair out, like then when they get the struggle, it just is so nice. Yeah.
It's going to be your author friends who understand when you're crying and you're stuck and you're trying so hard to make this work, and like they're there to hold your hand and just help you on the next step.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and bounce ideas off them. Yeah,
definitely. To understand why I not blacked out, but kind of vibed out when I was driving my car and didn't remember getting from place A to place B, because I was thinking about what my characters were going to do next, right? Yeah.
Right. When you kind of you're at your destination, you kind of like regain consciousness, and you're like, oh, I don't remember that drive. Yeah.
I'm sure it was safe. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Right. That autopilot.
Well, that's one way to make time for writing, because we are so busy. We have so much going on that we take all these little wasted moments and use our brains to concoct what we're doing next, to scheme, to imagine, to play. But that being said, like, how do you make time for writing in your life?
So I try to, if I'm working on a project, I try to write every day. That really keeps it front of mind for me, and it makes it easier to continue the story. I mean, my outlining does that too. But yeah, if I do it just at least for 30 minutes or an hour a day, that just keeps me going. And if I'm, and then if it can be more, if it's more, then I do. But if I do it just that little bit, that keeps my creativity going, definitely.
Do you have a favorite part of writing?
Oh, my favorite part. Wow. It's probably in the beginning when I'm just forming like all the ideas about the characters, who they are, what is their backstory, where are they going to go, what's their main challenge, and how are they going to overcome that, and how am I going to show them overcoming that. So yeah, that's probably my favorite part.
That's the fun part. How about a least favorite part of writing?
Editing, definitely. Yeah, and waiting for my beta readers to come back and say, oh, I do or don't like this. So yeah.
Oh, yes.
yes.
The wait. The wait is the worst.
Mhm. You hit send and you're like, okay, you guys reading? Like,
Yes.
yeah,
Right.
sometimes it can take weeks for them to find time to read the book. And a lot of the good ones, they'll go through it very painstakingly, picking out all
Right.
the good and the bad. And you're so grateful for this, but it's so hard to wait.
Mhm. It really is, yeah.
Right.
What I know you talked a little bit of things that inspired some of your stories, but what influences your writing?
Influences. Wow, so many different things. I mean, I read so much. I watch so many fantasy shows, and obviously you don't want to do it the same way, but you also need to pay attention to what other people are doing and what other characters are doing. I think it's just a story, like the story of the character and showing how they can overcome their challenges and showing things that may happen to us in everyday life, but showing them in this fantasy world where
Mhm.
we can explore those in a safer space sometimes. Some
Yes.
things are
Yes.
like, loss and death and grief and, how do you fit in this world? Where do you fit in a group? All those issues are kind of hard to explore sometimes if you're in the real world, but if you think of them in a fantasy world, it can make them feel a little bit safer. So I like doing that.
Absolutely
Absolutely.
agree. Yes. Yes. No, oftentimes fiction is a mirror. But like you're saying with the fantasy world, we can kind of go places you might not want to go in a real life conversation. Yeah.
No, yeah, that is the magic of fiction, is being able to
Yeah.
experience all these different lifetimes, all these different people, all these
Mhm.
different
Mhm.
characters that show us bits and pieces of ourselves and ask the question of like, what if? And,
Mhm.
you know, but yeah,
What a
things that
magical
we
question
love
it is
in books
too.
and media, we absolutely do not want happening to us in real life. Like, no, thank you. It's fun to step
Right.
in and like then shut the book. It's done. It is safe.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
I love how you kind of describe taking like seeds of influence from everywhere and putting
Right.
them together and twisting them into something new and yours. And
And you just pray people will like it, right? So I
Yes.
didn't,
Right.
yes, and then pray people like it. And
yeah, I
the
didn't
first 100
re-
pages aren't boring.
yeah, definitely. I didn't research fairies before I started writing about them. And then
Mhm.
after I published my book, I was about to publish it, like I did some research and I was like, oh no, my fairies have wings. They can
Right.
tell a lie. They are not, iron doesn't bother them. I broke all these little things. So I'm like, okay, is it
Mhm.
gonna be
Mhm.
okay?
Oh,
Right.
yes.
Right.
Knowing what
Yeah.
rules you can break. Like Stephanie Myers so famously made her vampires sparkle. And I
Mhm.
think that
Mhm.
has been like such a controversy among like
Yeah.
the readers. Is this okay or not? Because some people absolutely love it and it's sort of a meme right now. And other people were so vehemently against it. Like, how dare you make
Mhm.
vampires sparkle? You are like,
Oh
people
no, the
get really
hardcore vampire
impassioned
people, yes.
over these details.
Yes. Yes.
So
Right.
yeah, it's hard to know what rules you can kind of break and get away with. What can you reinvent for yourself for your particular world, you know?
Mhm. Mhm.
But that being said, like good research, I think can help you make your story feel more believable. There's nothing like having a reader go in, or you're reading a book and you read something, you're
Mhm.
like, that doesn't work
That
that
wouldn't
way.
happen in
Like,
real
let's
life. Yeah, that's
like
not
they
how it
didn't
works.
do their research on that. Yeah,
No,
that's
I
not how
definitely
that
do
works.
research. After that, I don't, not as much on, well, characters sometimes, definitely.
Mhm.
But and you want to make it your own. So I don't actually read fantasy while I'm writing fantasy.
Hmm.
So I switch back and forth. But yeah,
Mhm.
research on people, places, historical events, definitely.
Absolutely, yeah. No, but it is fun. It's kind of it is an art of like what rules to bend and how to subvert cliches or tropes and make them your own. It's kind of yeah, I love that when it's just like little bits and pieces from everywhere that you can put together into your own unique form.
Do you ever get writer's block, and how do you deal with that?
I do sometimes. My most famous version of writer's block is I had this one character and he was bound to this witch coven, and I
Mhm.
didn't know because it looked like a tattoo on his arm. Um, and this was in a subsequent book, so I couldn't go back and rewrite the first book, right? But the tattoo was on the arm, and so I was really stuck, and I just went on a walk, and my brain was just spinning. Okay, I have the tattoo on the arm, and I remember the ceremony in the previous book from when he got this, and then I ended up. I don't even know how it came to me that they're basically like tentacles that were binding this tattoo to his soul. And then he, in order to get away from this coven, he had to have these tentacles unwrapped from his soul, which is special witch
Oh,
spell, was
okay.
horribly painful because obviously they're wrapped around his soul. But yeah, so I just kept walking and walking until I came up with this idea. I had no idea, but it's just like every little teeny part led me to the next part. And I think
Yeah,
it's just like
yeah.
being outside or just like getting away. Um,
Yes.
and then just thinking of like, okay, well, if I get this far, then I get this far, then I get this far. And then you
Mm-hmm.
can get the whole picture.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
walking is great because one, it gets the blood flowing to your brain,
Maybe,
which is
maybe that's,
important.
yeah.
Yeah, but also, like you said, it gets you out of the environment where you're stressed trying to figure it out. It gives you something passive to do so that the back of your mind can still be working on unraveling the story while the front of your mind is kind of distracted by, like, oh, look at the trees, look at the sun, all of that stuff. So I think going for a walk is a great idea.
It's probably safer
Yeah.
than driving too, as I said before.
Right, right.
Yes.
If we're stuck
Driving
in our
distracted.
stories trying to
Yes.
figure out plots driving, yeah,
Yeah.
it can be a lot. Right.
I'd wake up in
Oh,
45 minutes and be like, where am I? Like,
right, right, right. Yes, you come to like, uh-oh. How
I
did I
think that
get here?
that's like a good way to do like a middle-aged isekai fantasy. You're just like have the
Mm.
adult who's spacing out and just driving, and suddenly they kind of come to and be like, wait a minute.
Am I
Like,
in a different
I'm
state?
in a different
Right.
world. When did I pass through a portal? Like, what has been your most significant writing victory so far?
I think I would say in 2019, I won the Colorado. Oh no, there were two, but I'll do this one. It was my first one. I got an award from the Colorado Independent Publishers Association for my Kingdom of Embers, the first book in my Kingdom Journal series, and that felt really good to me. Just to be recognized by a group of my peers for some writing and
Mm-hmm.
it was my first fully fantasy book, so
Yeah.
that felt really good.
Oh
Oh,
yeah,
that's
no, it's a
amazing.
good acknowledgement
Congratulations.
Thank
that
you.
people like your writing, and like it's not just the people who like you, like you're like strangers. Strangers
Yes,
liked my
yes.
writing. Yeah,
Right. And
give me an
I could not
award.
tell myself anymore that I was just posing I was able to say,
Yes,
I am an author. I'm not
Right.
just posing as an
Yes.
author.
you're like
Yes.
I'm an
No,
award-winning
yeah.
author.
Right.
Yes.
Right. You get to update that resume. Award winning. I love that. Congratulations again. All right. Is there any writing advice you've heard that you hate? Either you think it's like a broad brush that shouldn't apply to everyone, or just didn't gel with you?
I don't think so, because I really recognize that everybody has their different process.
Hmm.
I can say what does gel with me. I always remember show, don't tell.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
um,
Right.
but I always have to keep that in the back of my mind because my little scientist brain comes in and says, oh, we can just blah 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 blah. I'm like, no, we can't just say. It's not a
Hmm.
research paper, we're not reviewing here. Yeah, so I don't think there's anything that I've been like offended by, or I think sometimes I've tried things like the outlining that didn't work for me,
Hmm.
but that
Hmm.
doesn't work for me. It doesn't mean that it's bad advice. It's not going to work for someone else. So,
Yeah. Usually, what drives me crazy is the absolutes when they say always or never, and it's just like no. There's always
I'm so old, I
exceptions.
just don't even
Yeah,
listen to
yeah,
that
yeah.
anymore.
Right. No, no. Yeah, very valid. Well, thank you so much for joining us. We wanted to give you an opportunity to share where our audience can find out more about you and your books online. So, perfect time to share your socials or website.
Sure. My website is triciacopeland.com. If you go to the main page, you can download 2 free short stories, a romance as well as a fantasy that can introduce you to my work. So that's a fun place to go. My books are on Amazon, Kindle, Kindle Unlimited, and Kingdom Journals and Realm Chronicles is also on audiobook.
Very nice. Yes. Thank you again for joining us. I know everyone's so busy, so we appreciate anyone taking the time.
Well, this is so fun. I love talking with other authors, so it's really fun.
I know. It's the favorite part of our week to talk to adults about writing, right?
Do you have any of your books handy nearby? Maybe you could show your covers and tell us about them.
You did that at the beginning. I would have to walk all the way back there. Do you want me to do that or not?
Yeah, go ahead. We've got plenty of time.
So I can cut that
Okay,
out.
I'm gonna walk backwards so I'm not putting my back to you.
Okay.
Oh,
yeah.
you're fine.
Here we go. This is my little dash there. Let's see. So yeah. So Kingdom of Embers. There we go.
Okay, yeah. Beautiful.
With Alina, and then that's to be a Fae Queen with Titania.
Beautiful covers. I love those covers. Yes.
Well, thank you so much for being on our show. Again, we appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. I really appreciate it. This is a lot of fun.
Yes. And thank you to everyone who's listening along at home. Remember, there's more than one way up a mountain. And if you're interested in, our next episode airs Friday as usual. If you are interested in being a guest on the show, you can find us on social media at The Tell Not Show or email us at thetellnotshow@gmail.com. Thanks again.
Thanks again for listening. If you enjoyed the show, consider subscribing and liking. We appreciate all the support. Julia J.K. Allen is an author, editor, and coach and can be found at hijingsrudder.com.
Kirsha Fox is an author, avid reader, gamer, and mother to 4, and you can find her at kirshafox.com. Thanks and see you next time.